Yeah, welcome back to the channel, boys. Week 4 NFL review. Let's do it. Week 5 preview. Let's go. 5:45. Look at that top of there. George Terrace squad. W W. 107th for the year now, boys. Yeah, had a decent week. Very decent week. I'm only messing around, but beating George, it's always good. When you can't do it in Supercoach, just do it in SportsDeck. Um, which is quite ironic because George is actually 60th overall, which is freaking ridiculous. But we'll get him. We'll get him. He has no idea. He's always asking me for advice. So if he beats me, there's problems. But nah. Um, yeah, just a pretty decent week again. Moved up by 50 spots. So to be 100th at this point, you can't really be upset about it. So last week's trades were McCaffrey, which everyone would have traded out. I'd imagine to Derrick Henry if you didn't have him. But for me, Aaron Jones was the pick. And then the other guy I did mention was Eckler. Which of course he gets 50 and he's the one I didn't go for. But yeah, look, both those guys, fine options from here. And what sort of leaned me towards Aaron Jones was, well, sort of the basis of most of this video, which was the buys. And Eckler having one in week 7, which would be pretty catastrophic for my team. So that was part of my reasoning not to go him and sort of look at him after that or what have you. But yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes. And then the other one was Ridley to Cup. Similar move, sort of Ridley has the buy in 2 weeks, so he was sort of underperforming, and then obviously Cup sort of looking like a pretty much a must-have or close to it, if you want to call someone that. But yeah, just a bit of down week from him as well. So we'll quickly go through the team. Hurts keeps doing it, man. He keeps doing it. He's just whereas junk time, whatever time, he's going to find a way to score for sort of 40 plus. So I think he's like quarterback, I want to say 5 in the year. I haven't checked, but he's up there, and yeah, I mean he's a good player. It's just he's sort of got to limit his mistakes, which is not always his fault, but most of the time some of his reads aren't the best, and he just sort of flings it out there when there's sort of no hope of it coming off. So sometimes he just has to play safer, which probably against the Chiefs is a hard thing to do since you're always going to be chasing the game against them. But no, he still played pretty well, and even though they lost by a couple of scores, he still was managed to put up points. So Heineke as well, great game actually, that one. I sort of caught the second half of it on Red Zone, and yeah, I mean his link up with Terry is unbelievably sick. I just got Terry McLaurin's first of all one of my favorite players, but just to have Heineke as well, and sort of the chemistry between those two is pretty good to watch. So yeah, Heineke, if you didn't sort of start with him, unfortunately, or sorry, get him in, unfortunately, it's sort of I say set you back, but it's a pretty crucial cash cow that you're gonna have missed by now. So yeah, if you didn't get him, it's not all over, but it's just the fact that Wilson's probably not going to make much more from here, although he played pretty decently on the weekend and got a win. So and Mac Jones actually played not too bad either. So you just it's going to have to be more patient with the rookies. That may not happen straight, as quick as Heineke, but I still think those guys and Trev especially, I liked how he played on the weekend. So you got to just trust that they'll be a more slower burn. But those 3 guys that I mentioned are probably the only ones sort of left that we have. Like Fields, pretty poor. Got the W. I'm not saying sorry he was terrible, but it was the Lions. But I'm not sure he'll be the starter once Dalton is back. I don't know. It's tough. And then Trey Lance has sort of come in maybe too early, where Jimmy G's got a calf injury and now be out I think a couple of weeks. But will Jimmy start when he comes back? Not really sure. So you sort of want Lance to play well, but you don't, because I think his break even's like -11 or something. So I sort of want to hold Heineke for a couple more to make some more cash, but then Lance can sort of already start going up if he plays well. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. Would have preferred if Lance sort of came on maybe in 3 or 4 weeks time, but obviously you can't predict these things. Derrick Henry still scored 50, or 49 to be exact, but he's just not as big as I would have thought. I mean, he still had 100 something yards and a touchdown, so you can't ever be upset with that. It's just that against the Jets, I thought he'd be in for more, but yeah, they struggled most of the day. They were behind, so the backup running back always comes in when you're behind. Pass catcher, although Derek had been catching some passes this year, he's still not the designated pass catching back. Um, so he was out a lot of that sort of third, fourth quarter when they were sort of making their comeback. Like he's in for early downs, but he's sort of straight out as soon as it gets to second and 10, third and 10, that he's out. So a bit annoying, but yeah, it's sort of an easy VC to score to take, and if you had him captain, just you're happy with that. Aaron Jones, as I said before, not as impressive as we would have thought, but sort of both big Green Bay boys were, him and Devontae as well. Just touch on both of them, but sort of got the W, and Randall Cobb was the one with a couple of touchdowns. So just the way it goes sometimes. I still think those guys are really good options going forward. And Zeke, this is why we started him at sort of that 9 mil price. Even though Pollard, like I've been saying, is getting a few touches here and there, they're both really, really good. Zeke is still the goal line back, the pass catching back. He still gets all the valuable touches that we want. He's still the guy. So um, Dallas look really, really, I won't say good, but they're pretty good. They look decent. So I think they're 3-1 now. So yeah, I think it'll really good for Zeke, and we'll hold him even through this bye that I've got him crossed for in week 7. I think I'll still hold him. Najee, yeah, I mean, sort of what we expected. I think he's running back. I think he's top 5 running back as well, which is sort of depending on the format you play. But yeah, I mean, put up 2 good weeks in a row now. Sort of took him a little bit to get going the first couple, but yeah, now the last 2 weeks he's had, he's found the end zone this week. I mean, last week was a crazy receiving game, but um, yeah, I mean, the man, he's out there for 95% of the snaps, which is what you want to see. Um, quickly, the bench, Javonte, just going to be like that, isn't it? 15 to 20 points, as long as he's sharing the backfield with Gordon. So, again, a really slow burn. And Tyson Williams, a healthy scratch. I mean, I know they brought Lev Bell off the practice squad during the week, and I wasn't worried about it, to be honest. I was like, this man's still washed. Like, he's still just sort of a backup option. But they activated him and put him straight into the team, and they're sort of splitting it with 3 really old, and I'll say 2 of them are washed. Latavius Murray's still got a bit in him, but um, it's really weird. Like Tyson has looked really good when he's got the chances over the first few weeks. So it's a bit annoying, but sometimes experience sort of trumps all. And he did have that fumble last week, sort of around the end zone, even though they did recover it for a touchdown. But little things like that, coaches sometimes just want to trust the older guys with experience. So sometimes there's not much you can do there, but we'll see sort of what happens here. It might be one that I trade to sort of cover the buys. But receivers, we touched on Adams, and then Tyreek. I mean, I sort of been saying it that even though he's had a couple poor weeks, stuff like this is always in him. We saw it last year against the Bucks. He had a similar stat line on it. It was 200 plus yards, but 3 touchdowns. Went insane, and that's what he did on the weekend. So yeah, Chiefs guys, Kelsey, Tyreek, you can't go without. You just can't fade him. And this is why. So Cooper Cup, look, I did say it at the start, not exactly an overwhelming debut, but I sort of missed the points now. I did say that I traded Ridley. Obviously, he does have the buy coming up, so I'm not totally upset with having traded Ridley. It's just more jumping on Cup. Is it too late? Look, you missed the points, but I still think from here he's sort of a top, probably 6 wide receiver. I'd say is where I'd have him. I'd still have a lot of guys ahead of him. The big guys that have proven it for many years in a row. Cup's sort of been hit or miss coming into different seasons. Obviously he did have an ACL quite a few years ago, but he's recovered well from that now and just had a bit of a down year last year. Obviously the quarterback play wasn't great, but yeah, him and Stafford have got a great connection. I still think it'd be a great option from here. So that's fine. Diggs just can't find the end zone. I don't know what's going on there. They're winning games by 40 points, and just for whatever reason, the man cannot find the end zone. So it'll come. It's it's just works like that sometimes. The weird thing is their running backs are starting to sort of get involved and take a few. But they were up. I mean, a shutout. They won 40 zip, and the starters were out of the game early into the fourth, and freaking Mitchell Trubisky came in and got a touchdown, a rushing touchdown himself. So look, it's whatever. Diggs will find the end zone eventually. It'll happen. And Terry, him and yeah, I can't speak highly enough of Terry. Ever since I started, I first saw him play a couple of years ago. I mean, he was an older sort of guy coming out of college. He's already 20. I want to say 26. So he's sort of already. He's 25, but he's already sort of on his. He's getting on a bit. He's second year in the league, or he's third to be exact, and he's already 25. I sort of think he's an older guy, but um, I mean that's a good thing, to be honest, for me. His route running is incredible. And yeah, Heineke and him seem to have really, really good chemistry. So loving the Terry selection. And CD Lamb is just a bit annoying. Just the fact that Dak threw four passing touchdowns to four different guys, and not one of them was CD. So it's probably more of an anomaly than anything. But the fact that he drops a four and he's sort of now going to probably drop heavily in price more just sort of gets me towards, and the buy. Yeah, I mean the buy is the main one in a couple of weeks that I'll probably be trading him out, which is annoying. Could have just started Cup and then, not have to spend trades here. But you move on, and that's what happens in these games. So look, tight ends are just such an annoying position, really, isn't it? Like Kelsey, obviously, he's the guy, and he's the one we don't worry about, even though he had a bit of a down week. But I guess Tyreek went off. That's just how it goes. But Hawkinson again, just a pretty average game again. Pitt's the same. Waller got in the end zone yesterday, so that was decent. If you had him, I think it was 26 for SportsDeck. But it's just a shoddy position. Like when you look each week, I was talking to one of my mates. When you look each week and you see, just go week by week, the top tight ends of the week, it's always just a jumble, and they're always like just random scrubs. You find like Mo Alley Cox, 2 touchdowns for the Colts. Like it's just an annoying position to worry about in fantasy, but it's there. It's a position, and um, yeah, I mean, I'm still confident. Both these guys going forward, they'll be up there. Um, and then the kickers, defense, there's not really ever much to talk about. You don't really want to be trading in these positions. I already had to spend one on a kicker, and although both defenses scored pretty poorly, I'm still fairly confident the Broncos will be very decent from here. The Niners, maybe not so much. They can't seem to stop anyone really at the moment, but they have had a couple of decently hard matchups. So yeah, we'll see from here. All right, I'll quickly go to the team now. I just want to show some trades I'm thinking of. So I think with those buys, hold on, let me go back to this quickly. Should have been talking about these. So yeah, look, week 6, not many guys. There's only Kittle, Kamara, Ridley are ones that I think people would have. Kittle already turfed, sort of knew the buy was coming when I started him, and they'll have to have turfed him. And then Pitt, sorry, is another one there that has the week 6 buy, but I'm not sure how many people have him at tight end 2, but you should have someone at the tight end 3 position you can play anyway, just for 1 week. But week 7's a 1. I mean, that's 6 teams on buy, a few popular teams that a lot of us have guys from. So, the Bills, I've got Diggs here, but there's, Josh Allen if you had him at quarterback. Chargers, there's Eckler, there's Allen, there's obviously Herbert as well if you have him as quarterback. And then the Cowboys, Dak as well, but Zeke, CD, Amari Cooper, I know a few people have. The Jags, probably no one has, but Steelers, Najee, and then Vikings with Cook and JJ, Justin Jefferson. But that's a few guys, and I mean, I've got 4 of them, as you can see, and obviously Taylor's one up there, but that doesn't really matter. But that's 2 from both posies. We don't need 2 to come off the bench unless we trade. So I think my thinking is in the running back position, I do want to hold Zeke and Najee. They've been pretty good. Zeke you could luxury trade, but he's been solid, and he's like running back 5 in the year, so I don't see a reason to. And Najee is just, yeah, I'm happy fielding him every week. He's got the role. He's playing almost 100% of snaps, and he's still value and got money to make. So I want to hold on to them 2 guys. I'm okay with fielding Javonte for a week. I actually haven't looked at who he's got in week 6, but Tyson I might have to make a move for because I think he just might have lost his position. It's too much of a sharing backfield, and then if he's not suiting up as a healthy scratch, that's annoying. So yeah, I just look. Javante's got the Raiders in week 6, which is fine. So I'm happy footing him there. But yeah, Tyson I might have to make a move to, and I'll show you in a sec who I'm thinking. And then in the wide receivers, I think CD is a definite trade for me. Um, just because he's the unders performance, his price isn't great. He might even drop further. Um, if it wasn't this format and we didn't have trades to burn, I'd be totally fine with holding CD. I mean, I owned him in like 4 bloody fantasy leagues. And whilst it's annoying, I think he'll turn it around and still be a great, top 12 wide receiver. But just the fact the buy's coming up. Um, and if you look at my bench, I've got Elijah Moore there. So Devonta Smith, I'm happy to bring on for Diggs, but I'll, I would want to make a trade for CD, just another primo anyway. So um, that's sort of the early buys. Then it's sort of, it's not too bad. Week 8's just pretty much Waller, I would say. People worrying about, but that's fine. He's filled Pitts. And then the next week is a few more people, but again, not too bad. I've got, Hawkinson for me. I just filled Pitts again. But DK Lockett, some people have them, probably more DK in the receiver position. But, if you have someone on the bench, that's fine. Just bring them on. And for me, it's obviously Heineke and Terry. So Terry, I'll just bring Devonta Smith on for that week, which is fine. But Heineke, I think is fine anyway. I'll probably week 7, 8 would have traded him out already, so that's fine. Um, yeah, so that's the next. Obviously, it's week 5 this week. That's fine, but just something to think about in sort of the upcoming weeks. Yeah, so the trades, I've already done it. So it's Kenny Gainwell from Philly. Been heavily involved in the passing game, which is good. He's found the end zone a couple of times. So yeah, week 1 he was all right. Next couple of weeks not too great, but then yeah, very good game on the weekend. Has Carolina next week, but then has the Bucks, which is annoying. But then it's not too bad. The Raiders and the Lions, and it's just someone who's playing for the next, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I mean their bye isn't until week 14, so it's just a playing bench running back that you can swap through the buys that are coming up. And I think he's probably the best option. It's still at a cheap price. Sermon would be another one that I was thinking of. He's actually played quite well. Um, but man, the Niners are hard to pick, and he does have a week 6 bye, which is fine because no one I have does. But yeah, I don't know. That backfield is just bloody hard to predict what will happen. Elijah Mitchell might come back. There's Jeff Wilson that's on the pup who will be back soon. You don't bloody know what's going to happen with Shanahan. So yeah, I mean, if you want someone that's a bit cheaper, because Gainwell's about almost $1 million more, Sermon is an option. So that's that for the running back. Because yeah, I mean, I think Tyson Williams is done. I mean, we'll see. I'm not sure, but the fact that he's a healthy scratch doesn't instill me with too much confidence. And then what I did play around with was a few receivers, which I've got Debo in here now. But there's a few more guys here that you can go at certain prices. So Debo's there. I mean, he's had a great year. A couple of huge games to sort of boost his score up, but the one that's more consistent would be DJ Moore. And now that he's got a quarterback that he can rely on, he's been very consistent. Say 24, 30, 30, 55. It's very good. And the fact that he also doesn't have a bye must be the same as Philly till week 13. I kind of like that because he's again a set and forget through a lot of decent fixtures here. Philly this week, that's a great matchup. Minnesota, that's okay. The Giants, pretty decent as well. Falcons, great matchup. New England, not good at all, but Arizona, decent. Washington, decent. That's a pretty good fixture run as well. So I do like him. The issue with him is he's a bit up in price. He's going to take more cash out of my bank than I would like, but I'm pretty confident that DJ Moore is finally, settled in his role. He sort of always had promise. Last year, couldn't get going, but the year before he was very good. And now with Darnold in there, they've got quite a good connection. So him I like. Crazily enough, Cordell Patterson's only 7 mil and he's made 4 mil already. Geez, wouldn't that been good to get on? Very, very weird that a 30-year-old is now breaking out with Matty Ryan. He's scoring way better than Ridley and Pitts. Very weird. but they like him and he's dynamic. He's always been a dynamic guy. Was a kick returner at the Bears. He did well. Um, he actually got quite a good highlight reel from some of those, but now he's been used on offense quite, the most he sort of ever has. So, I mean, good on him. He's played unbelievably well. He's still an option at 7 mil. It's just, do you believe it's going to keep going? The fact he does have the weeks expire, but I think that's fine for most people. It's more the 7 that I was talking about, and he has the Jets this week. They're playing him in London, actually, at the Spurs Stadium, and that could be another big game. So, yeah, I mean, he could be one to sort of chase some cash on, because he still has, I think a negative 26 break even. So he could be one. If you sort of want to, I think he's the same exact price as CD, isn't he? Yeah. So that's an option. So that's sort of what I'm looking at. Let's just say I confirm those. That's probably how the team will set up. Let's have a quick look at the fixture just for the VC. So we've got the Rams and the Seahawks. So, maybe someone like a Cup you could VC. On the Friday, we've got the London games actually Sunday night at midnight. Probably sleep through that so we can get up and watch the early games. But yeah, so who plays early? The Titans do again. So again, that's perfect. You can VC, yeah, Derek versus Jacksonville. That seems quite enticing to me. So maybe you can do VC Cup into C Henry, something like that. Or if you want to VC Derek, you can, depending on who your kicker loophole is, and that's fine. The Chargers play in the later window. And then yeah, if Derek doesn't hit for whatever reason, you've even got the KC Bills game later on as a few backup options there in Tyreek or Kelsey or something like that. Or even Zeke, or something like that against the Giants. So, yeah, that's a few options there this week. I'll quickly go over my league in sleeper, the main league. The boys, I won by 2 points, but I would have won by 30. I just was heading into yesterday, last game, 2 points up already, and I had Eckler, and that was it. He didn't have anyone. I just had Eckler, and I didn't really. I've never really done this, but the fact that I have been burnt before, where I've had a guy, where I've had a lead and into the last game of the round, and a 1 point, 2 point lead, and the guy fumbles and then gets injured. It's actually happened. So I just benched him. It's probably silly. He ends up scoring 30 points, and maybe it'll cost me in the playoffs, for points for, but I doubt it. But it's something that you can do. So I did it. Whatever. Still got the dub, and still undefeated. So happy with that. That's about it. Yeah, as always, message me on Twitter if you have anything. Oh, quickly, I do have. I'll just quickly scroll through some break evens because I did. For shits and gigs, I did purchase the advanced stats thing, whatever it's bloody called, the Super Coach Gold version of this. So I do have a few break evens. I'll just quickly show you if there's anyone you see there you want to know. Just pause it. There, I go to about there, and then I'll just go to the positive ones. There's Dalvin Cook all the way up at 82. One to monitor. He does get Detroit this week, so I wouldn't be trading him out, but it's just a little bit, he could have a big game. So um, there's a few other guys with some decently high ones. Yeah, that's about it. All right, guys. Catch you next week.